Germany is the land of bakeries and bread. There are thousands of different types of German bread, from Weißbrot to Bauernbrot to Vollkornbrot to a standard Brötchen. And today we're going to try 11 different types of iconic German bread.
So here we are, and as you can see, we have a lot of German bread just bought over the last hour or so. We actually have a bunch of the most popular ones that we have here in Germany. And if you're new to the channel, I am from Germany. We're currently living in Germany, but Diana is from the United States of America. And believe it or not, she did not have all of these bread variations yet.
Yeah.
And neither did I think.
There are thousands, so we're gonna get through a few of them today.
There are a lot of them, so let's not waste any time. We will basically determine which the best German bread ever is in this video. So let's go. So we're starting out with this one right here. This one in Germany is called a Roggenbrot. So it is a rye bread. It is very common that it comes in this blocky shape and form here. And this one is actually 100% rye bread, basically considered a staple through the Middle Ages. And just look at this. You can see this. It's pretty heavy, it's pretty blocky, like a good hearty chunk.
We went to a local bakery here, and this entire thing, I was surprised, was €4.40 for this whole thing. Like, how amazing, freshly made bread.
Yes, from a German perspective, bread got expensive, but let's listen to the nice cut here. This is crunchy on the outside.
We don't have a bread knife.
Ooh, we should have gotten a bread knife.
I know.
Oh, look at the crust. Wow, check it out. This is what it looks like. The crust is really strong.
Yeah, it's so hard here, but the inside is so squishy already.
I see the point of
You have to have the little edges for the bread knife.
Look how it's crumbling, it's falling apart.
So you can always ask for it cut in German bakeries. We didn't because it looks so pretty as a full loaf.
Crunch.
So the crust is really hard and like hearty, but this inside, look how soft this is. It's like spongy, it falls apart. It's so soft inside, which is different than I expected. I thought it was gonna be pretty hard and dry inside, but no. I just wanna put some butter on that.
I'm very surprised with this right now. It's super nice. And we have to say, we don't buy fresh bread from the bakeries a lot. The first one already makes me think, maybe we should.
Yeah, that was a good start.
This is absolutely awesome.
All right, and the next one is going to be one I actually know of, pumpernickel. So pumpernickel is something that I'm familiar with, a type of bread. This one is a little more dense and it's hard to find at the German bakeries. They're oftentimes in the supermarkets in these prepackaged things. They're so hearty. Look at this. Like, they come in these little blocks. You can get different sizes, but they're often pre-sliced already, and it's very grainy.
And it's so dense, I think you could insulate your house with this. I'm just gonna break one here. Wow.
So it's traditionally dark in color, as you can see, and it's known to be a little sweeter, so I'm curious.
Thinly sliced from the package.
Tastes like I'm just eating seeds put together. I feel like this is a healthy bread.
It's funny that you say that. It's kind of what they teach us here. The darker the bread, the more seeds, the healthier. It is kind of like in our opinion, right?
Yeah.
Because white bread is like the opposite of that. It's funny, there's a very, very popular party snack in Germany where you buy these pumpernickel slices, you cut them up into squares, and then you put square cheese slice bread, and you make it a little tower.
Oh, a little
and it's a
tower.
little tower, and these snacks are super common in parties, at least of older generations. I wonder if that's still a thing. And I always liked that. However, pumpernickel as a day-to-day bread at home, not that common, I think.
Yeah, interesting.
I think it also has a very, very distinct taste. This is super different than the first one, right?
Yeah.
And the word pumpernickel is kind of funny. I always reference the clip from Big Bang Theory where they call it a fart goblin.
And did you know the word pumpernickel comes from the German words pumper and nickel, which loosely translates to fart goblin?
So we kind of looked this up, and we found out that pumper is kind of a high German word for flatulence or flatulent. And then nickel was short for like Nikolaus or like a goblin type of thing. So there's something with flatulence, gobbling troll, I don't know.
We're eating a goblin fart. How nice.
Next up, we have the classic, the famous, the Brezel. This is a pretzel, obviously, and in Germany it's called Brezel, or in the south of Germany, for some weird reason, Brezen. So this is obviously very famous. It's a southern German dough. It's like this nice little shape here, like this ribbon.
It's a Laugenbrezel.
Yeah, Laugenbrezel. It often comes with a little bit of salt on it.
Yeah.
And we just could maybe
We're gonna break it.
Rip it apart.
Oh! But these are, I feel like, are classic Germany. This is like what Germany is known for, these soft pretzels. We call them soft pretzels in the US because a normal pretzel is just like these little hard sticks. You know?
Oh, the little, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so nice, it's so soft. I think the fresher the better for these. So I personally love getting the frozen ones, putting them in the oven, and then you open them up when they're steaming, and just having them with butter is so good.
Actually, as a kid, we never put toppings on them, but it actually works. Like if you get the sticks, you make that.
You never
stuff
put
with
toppings on them?
No.
You can get them with like in sandwich forms at the train stations here.
Even if we get the sandwich ones, we just ate it as is. I grew up poor. But if you know, some cream cheese on there, some salmon, ooh.
Ooh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
now we're talking. They're so good. But yeah, for me, pretzels, 10 out of 10. Like, these are my thing. They're so good. And I love when they're like fresh out of the oven. And I think they're one of the best when you're drinking beer. Like beer garden snacks, this is what you need.
Yeah, it goes really well
Salt
together.
and carbs, it's perfect.
Yeah, nice. All right, next up we have a weird one in my opinion.
Weird?
Because it is this thing. And to me, this does not look like bread. I don't know if this counts as bread.
It's literally a loaf.
But obviously it is bread. So this is called a Stollen.
Yeah. And it's very much of this time of the year. It's a Christmas time food, so they're everywhere at the bakeries right now.
Yeah, and it's some kind of fruit bread with like marzipan sometimes, raisins, fruit pieces in there, then this powdered sugar on top of it, so it's a very sweet version of a bread.
When I was looking up Stollen a bit, there's a long history of Stollen apparently. Like it goes back to like the 16th century where during the Advent time when they were fasting and everything, butter wasn't allowed, so it became this like dense, flavorless bread. So,
Exactly.
So then other things started adding to it. So marzipan, like dried fruit and stuff like that. It's one of these traditional things that are everywhere, especially during this time of year.
Yeah, Christmas time it's very popular.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, we have a version. These are the raisins, obviously, and this is a marzipan piece that is in there as well.
It's very popular in the south of Germany, and even when I was reading up, it talked about like the Dresden Stollen is very famous, and during the GDR period, when the West would send up care packages to the East would send back Stollen as like a thank you. So it's a big part of German history when you look at it. This is the longest Wikipedia page on bread I've ever read.
It's not bread. Okay. I'm hesitant, man.
Yeah, Phil hates marzipan.
No, I hate raisins. Marzipan is okay.
I knew you were gonna do that.
There are also nuts in there. That's the best part.
Yeah. Yo, who's cleaning
Powdered
this?
sugar. I'm sticking with the hearty bread, the sweet stuff, I don't know.
I love the sweet stuff. I love the marzipan in here. You can see it's a nice, big, chunky marzipan. However, my favorite Stollen is the one they sell at Aldi in these little squares, these marzipan squares.
Oh.
They're the perfect bite, and it has the layer of like the frosting, the raisins, and then the marzipan. So good.
It's not for me, but I can absolutely see how somebody who really likes raisins and sweet stuff likes this. I think with the nuttiness and marzipan, it's actually not that bad.
It's like pretty much a fruitcake.
And look at that, it's like a little snowy landscape. But enough of that. Get that out of here.
All right, the next one is one of the hardest words in German for me to say. Zwiebelbrot. Look at it. It's like a baby. This is one of the ones you see often advertising onion bread and onion cake everywhere in Germany, but this one looks so beautiful in the bakery. This is like the perfect loaf.
Beautiful.
Like,
and you know what? It just reminded me of something. Somewhere, sometimes they fill bread with soup. I feel like you could rip this open, get the fluffy stuff out, and put some thick pea soup or something, potato soup in there.
that would be so good. So Zwiebelbrot is advertised throughout. We see them in like Brötchen form, bread loaf form, and apparently it's supposed to taste like hearty onions.
Yeah.
I can smell it a little bit already.
So check it out. These are kind of like burnt onions on the outside because, again, it has kind of a crust. And I'm just gonna try to break this. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow, okay. And there we have it. And the dark chunks you see is the onion again. And look again, very strong crust. I think this is like the key ingredient to a good bread, right? You have to have a crunchy, nice crust on the outside, and then it has to be fluffy and nice on the inside. And there are the onion pieces in there.
Dude, it smells so strongly of onions.
This feels fun, yeah. And I hated this as a kid. I didn't like onions. Nowadays, I love onions.
I know when I first
so
met
here
him,
we
he
go.
did not like onions, but now he eats onions.
Onion bread, crunch it. Fucking awesome.
I love your idea of putting soup in here.
It tastes not like raw onions, but like roasted onions, right?
It is roasted onions in
Yeah,
there.
it
They
is.
roast the onions first and then bake them in the batter.
And we have to be clear here, obviously, each of these breads, you could slice it up, you could top it, you could even toast it again.
We're just trying it raw.
We're raw dogging it here.
But this, before we took a bite, was only €3.40 for the loaf. And I know from like a German perspective, they're like, what the heck, it's getting more and more expensive. But from an American perspective, that's a great deal for fresh bread.
I remember when a fresh bread roll was like 9 Pfennig.
Finish.
Yeah.
This is a finish.
Well, 100 Pfennig was 1 Deutsche Mark.
I've only seen a finish once in my life.
Yeah, in 2000,
I found a Finnish
1 or
coin.
2, they switched the currency from
Yeah.
Deutsche Mark to euros, so it was cheap. Next up, we have the good old German bread rolls. These are what we call Brötchen in Germany. These are bread rolls, obviously. And I want to say that this thing here, this is the most common bread roll, and this is the most common white bread type that we have and eat in Germany.
Yeah.
So this one is very plain. It's also the cheapest one that you can get. Nothing on it, just wheat white bread roll.
Yeah. They sell them at like supermarkets all the way to like fresh bakeries. This was 19 cents. But no, what are you doing? Why are you cutting it like that? No.
gonna rip it open.
No. When I first came to Germany, I tried to cut it like this, and everyone was like, here. However, in Germany, you have to cut it like this.
Without your hand on the opposite side.
I'm just cutting it. But you have to apparently cut it like this. It's a big no-no. And then you can put your toppings on.
Yes.
But that's how they cut bread here.
Yeah, that's
Bread
basically our go-to sandwich style bread, except one other that we show you a little bit later. And it's usually a breakfast thing where you eat those, but also as a snack at any time during the day, but mostly for breakfast. However, there are a couple of variations of this. If you want to go a little fancier than the standard white one.
This one's
which
one
is-
of my favorite. This is a Kürbiskernbrötchen, pumpkin seed bread roll, and these are so good alone, but oftentimes you'll find them as sandwiches at the bakeries as well, with like tomato, ham, cheese slices in there, and it just gives this like heartier flavor to the bread.
Yeah.
But it's all throughout too. Like it's not just on the top. As you can see, this one is like baked through. This was like €1.20, so €1.20 for this one. A little expensive for a Brötchen, but I mean, it's got pumpkin seeds all over. It's awesome.
And then the famous Mohnbrötchen. That is the word for poppy seed bread roll. And this one is so nice and round. Look
So
at it.
pretty. And this one was 65 cents for this.
And I'm just gonna break this one. This one is basically just a white bread roll. Obviously there are no poppy seeds on the inside, they're just on the outside. And for some reason as a kid, I really liked those. Not so much anymore though.
Yeah, I like them. However, eating them in public is always bad because you get little black things stuck in your teeth.
Yes, they always
That's the one. Mohnkuchen and Mohnbrötchen, you don't want to eat in front of people.
And there's one more on our plate here, which is this one. And this one is very different. As you can see, it looks a little glazed and it is very soft. It doesn't spring back immediately to its form. Because this is a sweet bread roll with chocolate pieces in there. But I want to also break the bread. So an old joke, break the bread und verteilt es unter den Armen. Anyways, here it's called a Stütchen. I have never heard that. It's just a sweet bread roll with chocolate in there. There's also the variation with raisins and I think marzipan sometimes. But this is something I never got to eat as a kid. I don't know why.
This feels a little more like a bakery item. It's bread with chocolate in there. It's very light and fluffy. As you can see, it's so light. It's not as hearty as the other ones, and it just kind of melts in your mouth. You put it on your tongue, it's just like dissolving. It tastes like very similar to like some of the Chinese bakery buns that I would eat.
Again, if you crave a little chocolatey thing, it's pretty good. And quick interception, guys, we do not do a lot of sponsored videos, so every like, every comment, every subscription to our channel is highly appreciated. And if you want to further support us, do that on patreon.com/DeanA'sPhil. We make additional videos and stuff like that.
And a shout out to our soulmate level patrons, Laura and Jared, Roger Lupka, Robin, and Parker Dopke. Vielen Dank, and back to the bread.
Okay, next one.
This right here is a Hefezopf. Again, we're staying with the slightly sweeter variation here. And it's this dough string that is like braided into this specific shape here. I think this also...
Definitely softer.
Yeah.
And I read this is way more popular during Christmas time and Easter, so probably has religious backgrounds like a lot of the bread here has.
That's horrible.
It's a standard white bread, it tastes a bit like, right?
But the milkier version.
Yeah, milky.
The sweet
it's
bread
very
we
milky.
also call Milchbrötchen.
When you compare this to like the heartier like Dunkelbrot, I feel like I prefer the darker bread.
Yeah, I would hardly count that as bread, so get that out of here.
This is closer to the American bread than any of the bread we've had so far.
Hey, you said it, not me. All right, next we go back to a proper bread. This is a German bread, not that sweet stuff. Again, ooh, yeah, hello. My name is Dinkelbrot. So, dinkel bread.
This is Dinkeltraum.
Look at this, again, a nice crust. Oh, it's like a little bit of flour on the outside that's dripping down. It's so fresh. Yep. Also from the bakery. And I looked up dinkel. Is spelt? Is that a rye wheat thing?
I had to look it up. It's apparently like an old age type of wheat. It has a little more protein than the standard wheat grain. And in Germany, you can often buy loaves as a half loaf as well. So we bought this as a half loaf. And this was only €2 for this half loaf.
Oh, that came apart nicely. Yes. And look at that. It's filled with chunks of nuts and seeds in there, which is always very nice when it's in a bread. Check on the top ridge here, how big these chunks of these nuts are.
That's like walnuts and hazelnuts in there. Ooh, the inside is still so soft, which I'm always so surprised by. Like, it has a beautiful crust. Like, this crust, you could, boom, smack it and it would make some noise. But this inside is so soft.
Whenever foreigners talk to me about German bread, I put it down a little bit. I'm like, it's not as good as everybody thinks. But I think it comes down to if you have a good bakery in your area or not. I'm really surprised today by how good some of these bread types are.
Yeah, and I think in Germany, it's not hard to find a good local bakery, right? Like, if there's bakeries in it. There's a bakery 2 minutes away from us walking.
What is your verdict on the dinkel bread, the Dinkeltraum?
I think it's really good. I think your mom would like this bread a lot.
I think your second-hand cousin would like this, potentially.
No, it's awesome.
Nice. That's a real bread, though.
Yeah, this is a real bread.
Not this Stalin shit, man.
Get out of here, you hate Stalin. The next one is one of my absolute favorites, and I don't even think it counts as bread. I just wanted to include it on this list. It has Brötchen in the name. So Franz Brötchen.
So flat.
It is pretty much a flat croissant with cinnamon, a lot of cinnamon on there. Pretty much became popular throughout Germany after like Napoleon occupied in like the Hamburg area. They call it like the French bread because I think I read somewhere that they put a croissant in a flat pan with butter and just fried it. And I'm not gonna lie,
it's a good idea.
It kind of tastes like that too. It's so cinnamony, it's so flaky like a croissant, but it's just denser because it's been flattened.
They always look like somebody sat on that.
I love it. This is the best part, the center part.
How is that different?
It's the most cinnamon layers in there. I love it. This with coffee, 10 out of 10. If you like cinnamon rolls, you'll love this. It's like a denser version.
I'm not a fan of cinnamon rolls, but I'm surprised every time. Like, I'm surprised this is pretty good. It tastes way better than it looks. I don't know why it's so flat, like somebody said on that thing, but that is pretty good. And if you look here, how the layers come together and how the cinnamon in between oozes out, pretty nice. It is not as dry as it looks.
Every time we go to Hamburg, I always get one. So good. I know it's not really a bread, but it had bread in the name. It's a bakery item. I love it.
Next one is very important. It is a little bit lighter. And we bought this here in Düsseldorf, which doesn't really matter. It was called a Kasseler Brot. Kassel is a city in the center of Germany. I have a very personal problem with this type of bread. This to me is just called Graubrot. This one is actually 70% wheat flour and then 30% rye flour. That's why it comes out a little lighter in color and a little lighter in weight. But the typical Graubrot is what I grew up on, and I never loved that stuff. I'm just gonna cut one here, and this is pretty huge.
Oh my God, that's a thick piece. Also, a lot of Germans have this like bread cutter, which we do not have. His mom has one.
Electric ones, you just slice it. We cut a slice, and then you put your toppings on, a little bit of butter, one slice of cheese, that's it. And no top slice of bread.
So like an open-faced sandwich.
Yeah, that's how Germans do it, open-faced sandwich. And I always wanted the dark, nutty breads, but I could never get it as a child. So I have a bit of a childhood trauma with gray bread. But since you showed me, you could toast everything again. It just turned out so much better.
Put it in a toaster, it's amazing. So it's a little squishier than some of this other bread, but it's also like a little spongier oftentimes.
Yeah, I think this is fairly spongy. Like you see how it rips here. And this feels a little bit sourdoughy. Yeah, that is, oh, I can immediately take him back to my childhood. It's pretty good.
You say that every time, dude. He shits on ground bread all the time.
Here's the point. It needs to be fresh. Nothing is like bread when it comes to that. If you just get it out of the oven, it's the best thing ever. An hour later, it's already worse.
Yeah.
A day later, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's hard, dry, and dead. So freshness, big, big factor.
This morning we went to 5 different locations, different bakery, different supermarkets to get all of this bread variation because not a single one had everything. This is pretty fresh as we're gonna get it. And it's not bad. It's not bad. It tastes really good, especially from like an American perspective of bread. But I personally just love the dark breads. Like that is my stuff.
And last but not least, I have to include another childhood big type of bread.
For both of us, actually.
For both of us, loved by students probably around the world. And everybody has seen it. It is
bread.
The good old butter toast, or as Americans call it,
bread.
Bread. So, I don't know why, it's called butter toast. And literally, it's a slice of dry ass white bread. And these are so small in Germany, I don't know why. Nowadays, we have the bigger versions, which are normal size, and they're always labeled American toast.
Yeah, there's so many that are American.
But I wanted to get the small one, and we always toast them. This was actually the only type of bread that we toasted regularly growing up here in Germany. Look, a nice little toasted version of that.
I mean, I feel like most Americans and most people in the world know what this is, like bread toasted, right? This is the standard.
And I think kids always want to have this thing, but as we know, it's like the most unhealthy version because it's just white flour and stuff. But it's very versatile and known around the world.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to look at a German pre-made bread aisle and see how different it is compared to the US. Because the US, you'll have a lot of loaves like this. However, in Germany, you have so many different packaged ones. You have like pumpernickel, you have sunflower seed, you have pumpkin seed ones. They have a lot of dark, hearty bread still. Meanwhile, this is like what the standard US aisle. You have whole wheat of this, you have like white bread of this, maybe a potato bread of this, but this is what they usually look like.
Yeah, and what I noticed when we traveled to the US, I think in Germany, the breads usually go bad quicker than in the US.
Yeah,
they mold after a couple of days if you don't use it, so that is also a reason why the bread should be as fresh as possible. That's why these bigger loaves are usually bought by families, I think, and not by single people.
Individuals. Like, we are literally going to have to, one, either freeze this or also have like a charcuterie party tonight because of the amount of bread that we have. I learned that I really like onion bread. That was one of my favorites.
I think every time there's a good amount of seeds or nuts in there, it's just next level, and I like it dark, hearty.
I wish you could smell this. It smells like onions. This was a little tasting into the German bread culture because I think there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different bread variations.
Yeah, but after all, the country is very famous for its bread, and I think this was a lot of fun, not just for you, I guess, but for me as well. So let us know if you looked into German bread before and which type is your favorite, or which one would you like to try the most.
As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye!
I haven't ever seen the Deutsche Mark in person, only on pictures, so this is kind of cool to see.